Good morning everyone. Basa na ng Bible guys. 2 Samuel 1 and 2 and Luke chapter 14 verse 1 to 24. Dito muna tayo sa 2 Samuel 1 and 2. Pang April 17 natin to guys. Basa. David becomes king over Judah. David hears of Saul's death. After the death of Saul, David returned from defeating the Amalekites and stayed in Ziklag 2 days. On the third day, a man arrived from Saul's camp, with his clothes torn and with dust on his head. When he came to David, he fell to the ground to pay him honor. "Where have you come from?" David asked him. He answered, "I have escaped from the Israelite camp." "What happened?" David asked. "Tell me." He said, "The men fled from the battle. Many of them fell and died, and Saul and his son Jonathan are dead." Then David said to the young men who brought him the report, "How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" Sa verse 6 na tayo guys. "I happened to be on Mount Gilboa," the young man said, "and there was Saul leaning on his spear with the chariots and riders almost upon him. When he turned around and saw me, he called out to me, and I said, 'What can I do?' He asked me, 'Who are you?' 'An Amalekite,' and I answered. Then he said to me, 'Stand over me and kill me. I am in the throes of death, but I'm still alive.' So I stood over him and killed him. Because I knew that after he had fallen, he could not survive. And I took the crown and that was on his head and the band on his arm and have brought them here to my Lord." Oh. Ulitin nga natin sa verse 6 guys. "I happened to be on Mount Gilboa," the young man said, "and there was Saul leaning on his spear, with the chariots and riders almost upon him. When he turned around and saw me, he called out to me, and I said, 'What can I do?' He asked me, 'Who are you?' 'An Amalekite,' I answered. Then he said to me, 'Stand over me and kill me. I am in the throes of death, but I am still alive.' So I stood over him and killed him, because I knew that after he had fallen he could not survive. And I took to the crown that was on his head and the band on his arm, and have brought them here to my Lord." Di ba nga nagpakamatay si Samuel. Yung armor bearer niya kasi ayaw siyang anuhin. Doon sa 1 Samuel guys, balikan niyo. Yung binasa natin kahapon. Yung sa verse 4 ng 1 Samuel 31. "Saul said to his armor bearer, 'Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me.'" Yun. But the armor bearer was terrified. Hindi, ayaw nga ng armor bearer siya patayin. So, sa verse 6, "So Saul and his 3 sons and his armor bearer," ayan o. "So Saul took his own sword and fell on it." So, hindi yung ang pumatay, kundi yung si Saul. Si Saul mismo nagpakamatay. Bakit dito mali yung report kay David? Hayaan mo na. Kung complicated yung Sabi kasi dito sa siya yung baka naghihingalo pa. Pero wala nakalagay na dito fell on his sword and died. Sometimes hindi ko maintindihan guys yung sulat sa Bible. Siyempre pagka nabasa mo kahapon, tapos ngayon dito ang report niya kay King David, siya ang pinatay niya si Kaya na nga yan. Siguro nung nagpakamatay si Saul, baka may buhay pa, kaya tinuluyan na niya. Pero iba kasi sa dito sa 1 Samuel. Ang hirap mag-intindi ng story. It happened on the Yamin said, he asked me, sa verse 8 guys, he asked me, who are you? And Amalekite, I answered. Then he said to me, stand over me and kill me. I am in the throes of death. Oh, yun na nga guys. Baka hindi pa nga talagang namatay si and fell on it pa lang. Yan. So parang tinuluyan na lang dito. Kasi nagpakamatay nga si King Saul, diba? Tapos siguro naghihingalo pa. Siguro lang. Kasi wala naman tayo nung panahong yun eh. Inaano lang natin yung binabasa natin. When he turned around and saw me, he called out to me, and I said, what can I do? He asked me, who are you? An Amalekite, I answered. Then he said to me, stand over me and kill me. I am the throes of death, but I am still alive. Ayun na nga guys. Naghihingalo na nga siya. So tinuluyan na lang siya ng young man. So I stood over him and called him because I knew that after he had fallen, he could not survive. And I took the crown that was on his head and band on his arm, and have brought them here to my Lord. Then David and all the men with him took hold of their clothes and tore them. They mourned and wept and fasted till evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. David said to the young man who brought him the report, where are you from? I am the son of an alien and Amalekite, he answered. David asked him, why were you not afraid to lift your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? Then David called one of his men and said, go strike him down. So pinatay din yung kay King Saul. Then David called one of his men and said, go strike him down. So he struck him down and he died. Yun. Yung young man dito na pumatay kay King Saul, pinapatay din ni David. For David had said to him, your blood be on your own head. Your own mouth testified against you when you said, I killed the Lord anointed. David lamented for Saul and Jonathan. David took up this lament concerning, kasi anointed nga si King Saul, diba? So yun, pinatay din. David lamented for Saul and Jonathan. David took up this lament concerning Saul and his son Jonathan, and ordered that the men of Judah be told this lament of the vow. It is written in the book of Jezar. So, next natin, maghahanap tayo ng book ni Jezar. Next natin basahin. Your glory, O Isla, ay sa verse 19. Your glory, O Israel, lies slain in your heights. How the mighty have fallen. Tell not in Gath, proclaim it not the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines be glad, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised rejoice. O mountains of Gilboa, may you have neither dew nor rain, nor fields that yield offerings of grain. For there the shields of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul no longer rubbed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the flesh of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back. The sword of Saul did not return unsatisfied. Saul and Jonathan in life they were love and gracious, and in death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep for Saul, who clothed you in scarlet and finery. Naano ko tong scarlet? Pangalan to nung kontrabida doon sa book na pinasa ko. Pocket books. Who clothed you in this? Hindi, reaction lang ha. Kasi may binabasa din kasi ako ibang book. Who clothed you in scarlet and finery, who adorned your garments with ornaments of gold. How the mighty have fallen in battle, Jonathan lies slain on your heights. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me. Yeah, magkaibigan nga silang matalik ni Jonathan. Ito yung, kahit anak siya ni King Saul, tinulungan niya pa rin si David na makatakas noon. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women. So, ito yung vow nila. How the mighty have fallen, the weapons of war have perished. Sa chapter 2 na tayo ng 2 Samuel. David anointed king over Judah. In the course of time, David inquired of the Lord, shall I go up to one of the towns of Judah? He asked. The Lord said, go up. Lagi ko talagang tinatanong, paano pa ba kayo sinasagot ni Father God? In what way? Kasi parang nag-one-on-one sila eh. Ulit-ulit ha. In the course of time, inquired of the Lord. In the course of time, David inquired of the Lord, shall I go up to one of the towns of Judah? He asked. Tapos sasagutin naman ni Father God. The Lord said, go up. So, yan lagi ang tinatanong ko. How? In what way? In what way sila sinasagot ni Father God? Halimbawa tayo ngayon, magtatanong tayo kay Father God. Lord, Father God, ano po ba ang mission ko? For example, ganun. Ano po ba ang mission ko? Tapos, ano yung sasagot ni Father God sa akin? Diba? Ito kasi parang one-on-one din eh. Ganun lang. David asked, where shall I go? To Hebron, the Lord answered. So, diba laging may sagot si Father God sa kanya? So, David went up there with his two wives. Tapos, yung writer nitong, halimbawa yung ganitong, one-on-one ni David tsaka ni Father God. Paano nalalaman ng writer na ganun ang sinasagot sa kanya ni Father God kay David? May diary ba si David nung araw? Diba? Yung ganung klase. Natawid ko tuloy. So David went up there with his two wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail. Wala na talaga si Miss John, no? Hindi na niya talaga. Ngayong patay na si King Saul. Sana kaya si Mitchell. So, yung first wife pa ni David. So, David went up there with his two wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David also took the men who were with him, each with his family, and they settled in Hebron and its towns. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. When David was told that it was the men of Jabesh Gilead who had buried Saul, he sent messengers to the men of Jabesh Gilead to say to them, The Lord bless you for layo. The Lord bless you for showing and faithfulness. Nawawala na ako sa linya. The Lord bless you for showing this kindness to Saul your master by burying him. May the Lord now show you kindness and faithfulness, and I too will show you the same favor because you have done this. Now then, be strong and brave, for Saul your master is dead, and the house of Judah has anointed me king over them. War between the house of David and Saul. Nako po. Sila na nga guys, nag-aaway na. So kung sino na lang yung papakinggan ni Father God sa kanila. Kasi isa yung God nila, di ba? War between the houses of David and Saul. Meanwhile, Abner, son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. He made him king over Gilead, Ashuri, and Jezreel, and also over Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. Oh, sa verse 8 guys, ano niyo mabuti, intindihin niyo mabuti. Hanggang sa 9. Meanwhile, Abner, son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. Oh, so ginawa niyang king si Ishbosheth. He made him king over Gilead, Ashuri, and Jezreel, and also over Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. So yun yung king yung anak ni King Saul. Ishbosheth, son of Saul, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. The house of Judah, however, followed David. The length of time David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. Abner, son of Ner, together with the men of Ishbosheth, son of Saul, left Mahanaim and went to Gibeon. So verse 13, Joab, son of Zeruiah, and David's men went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat down on one side of the pool and one group on the other side. Then Abner said to Joab, let's have some of the young men get up and fight hand to hand in front of us. All right, let them do it, Joab said. Sa verse 15 ng chapter 2, 2 Samuel. So they stood up and were counted of 12 men of Benjamin and Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and 12 for David. Then each man grabbed his opponent by the head, and thrust his dagger into his opponent's side, and they fell down together. So the place in Gibeon was called Helkath Hazurim. The battle that day was very fierce, and Abner and the men of Israel were defeated by David's men. The 3 sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. Now Asahel was as fleet-footed and as a wild gazelle. He chased Abner, turning neither to the right nor to the left as he pursued him. Abner looked behind him and asked, "Is that you, Asahel?" It is, he answered. Then Abner said to him, "Turn aside to the right or to the left, take one of the young men and strip him of his weapons." But Asahel would not stop chasing him. Again Abner warned Asahel, "Stop chasing me. Why should I strike you down? How could I look your brother, Joab, in the face?" But Asahel refused to give up the pursuit, so Abner thrust the butt of his spear into Asahel's stomach, and the spear came out through his back. He fell there and died on the spot. Ayoko talaga ng nag-aaway, lalo na nito nagkakasakitan. He spear into Asahel's stomach and the spear came out through his back. Imagine niyo na, lumusot yung weapon mula sa tiyan hanggang sa likod. Grabe, di ang haba nun. He fell there and died on the spot, and every man stopped when he came to the place where Asahel had fallen and died. But Joab and Abishai pursued Abner, and as the sun was setting, they came to the hill of Ammah, near Kir, on the way to the wasteland of Gibeon. Then the men of Benjamin rallied behind Abner. They formed themselves into a group and took their stand on top of a hill. Abner called out to Joab, "Must the sword devour forever? Don't you realize that this will end in bitterness? How long before you order your men to stop pursuing their brothers?" Joab answered, "As surely as God lives, if you had not spoken, the men would have continued the pursuit of their brothers until morning." Nakalagay guys to sa 27. Joab answered, "As surely as God lives, if you had not spoken, the men would have continued the pursuit of their brothers until morning." So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the men came to halt. They no longer pursued Israel, nor did they fight anymore. All the night Abner and his men marched through the Arabah. They crossed the Jordan, continued through the whole Bithron, and came to Mahanaim. Then Joab returned from pursuing Abner and assembled all his men. Beside Asahel, 19 of David's men were found missing. But David's men had killed 360 Benjamites who were with Abner. They took Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb at Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men marched all night and arrived at Hebron by daybreak. Alam niyo guys, hindi ko na yan kinakabisado yung mga pangalan. Sa dami nila. Pero sila nag-aaway, nagpapatayan. Magkakapatid yan. Yung Israel, Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, yung 12 tribes, mga anak ni mga anak ni Israel yan. Para si Levi lang ang walang tribes yan. Levi. So dito na tayo sa Luke chapter 14 verse 1 to 24. Ay, sorry. Nabutas. Sabi ko sa inyo, sobrang nipis nito eh. Verse 1 to 24. Saan ka dyan? Jesus heals a man with swollen limbs. One Sabbath, when Jesus went to eat in the house of the prominent Pharisee, he was being carefully watched. Ang hirap ng gano'n, no? Yung habang kumakain kami nakatingin sa'yo. Parang hindi ka makakain yan eh, pagka gano'n. Ako ayoko sa lahat tinititingnan ako habang kumakain. There in front of him was a man suffering from dropsy. Jesus asked the Pharisees and experts in the law, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not?" But they remained silent, so taking hold of the man, he held him and sent him away. Then he asked them, "If one of you has a son or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, you not immediately pull him out?" And he had nothing to say. Tama nga naman. Hintayin mo pa bang hindi maging Sabat para iligtas mo yung tao? Kasi bawal talaga sa kanila lahat yun. Justice is about seeking humility. When he noticed how the guests picked the places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. Kaya nga, dapat ngayon sa mga bangke, sa mga, nito? Sa mga okasyon, dapat yung mga table guys, mayroon ng mga pangalan para hindi mapapahiya yung basta nalang uupo. Tapos yung table pala na yun is para sa mga VIP. So, hindi alam ng tao, nakaupo na siya doon. So, alam mo, patatayuin mo yun. So, the best way sa generation natin ngayon, lagyan mo na ng mga label. Alam ba, yung mga invited mo, may mga pangalan na sila doon, masarili na silang table. Hindi na mag-ano kung saang table sila upo. Basta na lang sila, hanapin na lang nila yung pangalan nila. So, diba, mas maganda. Kasi yung parable ni Jesus dito, tingnan niyo. Jesus teaches about seeking humility. When he noticed how the guests picked the places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. So, if so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, give this man your seat. Then, humiliated, you will have to take the least important place. O, diba? So, para maiwasan natin yung ganun, guys, pag tayo magkaroon ng handaan sa every ano natin, pag may mga pabisita tayo, lagyan na natin ng pangalan, bawat table, para hindi mapapahiya. Yun lang yun. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to your friend, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in the presence of all your fellow guests. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. So, ganun lang siya, guys. Kasi table per table naman ngayon ang pag may handaan ka. So, lagyan man lang ng mga pangalan bawat table. Para sure ba na hindi mapahiya. Then Jesus said to his host, when you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or relatives, or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Ayoko naman ng ganito. Siyempre kung sino yung friend mo, yun ang i-invite mo. Diba nakalagay kasi, guys? But when you give banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Diba sa atin, sa generation natin ngayon, kung sino yung friend natin, yun ang invite natin, diba? Regardless kung mayaman siya or mahirap siya. Basta friend mo, lalo na pag close friend mo, invite mo syempre. Kung sabagay, parable lang naman to eh. And you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. Kasi pag naghahanda, kung sino yung close sa family natin, yun ang ini-invite natin. Kaya, imposibleng, porket poor, crippled, lame, blind, invite mo na kahit hindi mo friend. Siyempre, ka pa rin na friend mo ang Hindi sa nag-ano ka ng kapalit na babalik sa'yo, kundi, natural na sa atin, guys, na mag-invite tayo ng close friend natin. Hindi yung mga strangers. Diba? So, yun. Jesus tells the parable of the great feast. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, blessed is the man who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God. Jesus replied, a certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, come, for everything is now ready. But they all alike began to make excuses. Ayaw pumunta. The first said, I have just bought the fold and I must go and see it. Please excuse me. Another said, I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Ang dami excuses. Still another said, I just got married so I can't come. The servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the house became angry and ordered his servant, go out quickly into the street and the alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. So ito na, kahit hindi ka kilala, inano na niya. Kasi diba dito sa una, mas ano daw, i-invite mo raw yung mga mahirap, crippled, lame. Yun. So inulit-ulit dito sa verse 21. Go out. Kasi walang umatin sa mga kaibigan niya. Kaibigan nga ba niya? Invited mini guest lang. Walang sinabi kung mga kaibigan or basta mini guest. Walang pumunta. Siguro hindi mo friend kaya hindi pumunta. Ay, nako. Yung story minsan dito guys, yung ano ko sabag kasi puro parables lang naman to. Example lang ba? Inaano lang ni Jesus to. Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Sir, the servant said, what you ordered has been done, but there is still room. Then the master told his servant, go out to the roads and country lanes and make them come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those men who were invited will get the taste of my banquet. So yun na yun. Bye everyone. God bless.